Right, YouTube, what is the crack? It is Ross here, also known as Unsub. This is my first made for YouTube video, so if you're looking for information just how to change the bearings on the front wheel of an International 684, then I'm going to try and leave some markers down below so you can skip. But a quick introduction, my name is Ross. Originally from Dublin, I moved out to North Offaly about 6 years ago. About a year and a half ago I brought this 40-something-year-old tractor. I believe it was first registered in 1982. So far I've done a couple of different jobs with the tractor, so I cleaned out the inside of the cab. I did my best to get lights and stuff like that working, but I haven't quite got there yet. So last year I would have had a few issues, one of which relating to the main fuel lines, as you can see under there, was a bit tricky to get to, and kind of resulted in me having to take the entire fuel tank off the back of it there. But we got it running in the end, which is the main thing. That there is my trailer, which I lovingly refer to as Trigger's trailer, because basically everything except for the frame here and the hitch and stuff down there has been replaced at some stage or another. So the back oil on the tractor, which does get filled through here, which I believe would be the oil that would go to the likes of the gearbox and the steering and the hydraulics. Now this tube here, which is the dipstick for that oil, actually had a hole just below where it came into the cab, which was an easy enough fix, and made sure that all the right kind of pressure was coming to the front end here, which ultimately moved the leak up to this piston, which I believe is called the steering ram. And that entire assembly had to get redone. The next issues actually came from these track rods that connect the wheel and basically make it steer. And I've got to give a massive thanks and a shout out to QTP for sorting me out with the two new track rods. Right, I'm going to reposition these two vehicles. It's going to be much easier to work on the tractor if it's kind of out into the yard, because right now I'll be getting stung in the bottom if I'm up against that. Hey, are you the person who was just trying to find out how to change the bearings? You've stopped at the right spot. So I'm going to go over what we need to change the front bearings on the International 684. Pretty straightforward. We're going to need a new set of bearings. I would recommend taking the old ones out first, bringing them to where you get your parts and making sure you get the right ones. But they should come with two bearings for each wheel. The bigger one goes in the back, the smaller one goes to the front, and they both come within their own housings. After that, it's actually pretty straightforward to get these changed. You're going to need a flat-headed screwdriver in order to pop the middle cap off. Going to need to get yourself a pliers in order to pull out that split pin. And obviously, we're going to need some kind of a socket wrench in order to take that castle nut off. Other than that then, I'd recommend getting yourself some tubs of grease in order to change out the grease that's there. Of course, I recommend wearing gloves because this is a very greasy job, and having a lot of rags at hand in order to scoop that stuff away. So this cap here is basically just a cap. Should be able to find a spot. There we go. Should just pop straight off. Don't be worried if you see cracks there. I do believe that's just grease. It is. I have some rags and see how much of that we can get off. We're still recording here. You might not be able to see me. I'm almost certain, yeah. So the fun thing about having a 40-year-old tractor is that there's 40 years worth of other people working on them, and we have just found one of those kind of gems, being that this castle nut is in fact welded on. So that's going to be a problem for another day. Have no fear, because we still need to do the other side, so I can show you how to do it on that. Again, recap, we're going to uncap. Oh, that was a bad idea. Do not do what I did and let it fall to the ground. And if you do, make sure you clean off all of the gunk inside. But you should have a split pin that goes through the center of the nut. Fold it to try and get it as straight as possible. Once we have the pin out, try and get as much more of that grease off as you can. That is so not meant for that. I have something for that though, didn't I? I made a mistake earlier. I should have said this, so I'm going to edit in and say a big dirty spanner. Right, so that's called the castle nut, and once that's out, the wheel should be free to just lift. Something a little like, that. Right, so as you can see here, chunk of grease, back bearings there, so let's get them off if we can. Hoo-hoo. They are fairly stuck on. Right. And off she slides. So that's the back bearing there, and as you can see, it's like it was fairly loose within there. Right, so you can see the wheel, this is the back of the hub. So again, there's a lot more grease there to be gotten rid of. So that's the back bearing that was left on the tractor, and it would sit in there, which means that we have its little housing around the side here, which we're gonna have to try and pry out. Handy enough. And test fit the back bearing then, so that's the new housing. Fits in perfect. New bearing. Nice. And I'll flip this bad boy over. Oh yeah. Oh, she's tight. Where is that other one gone? So there's two channels that run through the center of that there, and I'll see if I can get something to tap. Oh, she is stuck, hey. Stuck as a duck, right. This is already kind of dull as it is, so we don't mind. Hey, love that sound. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever the spider can. Oh, don't think I'll be entering any strongman competitions anytime soon, but is that even recording? It is. Right, so that's the new bearing and the new housing. Oh yeah. Get that in nice and tight. Get that in on top. Whoop, whoop. Right, what's the crack? So I'm after refueling myself there. You probably noticed the sweat was pouring off me, because that heat doesn't really suit me very well. I'm too Irish for it. So this is the new back bearing there to it, and it's getting kind of stuck along there, which as we can see has a little bit of rust or something on there. So we're here with a bit of 120 grit emery cloth, a little bit WD-40. So I'm fairly confident that that would probably tap on a lot easier right now. Just because we can, we're going to try a little bit of physics. So we've wrapped it up there in a tea towel full of ice in the hopes that the cold will make that metal shrink ever so slightly. So we're going to try and give that an even heat around. Take that off for a moment. We're going to give both of those a rub. Boom! Physics, baby! Oh. Right, so the last thing is to line up. Hey, go. I'm covered in grease, I can't take that. The last thing to do then is to try and get our little pin in here, which is probably easier said than done. So that's the pin in with a little bit of struggle. Our safety pin back in. Oh, is our microphone on? It is.
Oh, top that off with a bit of grease. Put in there. She's smooth and she's solid, and that's what we wanted.
Right, so that's it back down on the ground. I hope you enjoyed learning with me. Leave any suggestions you might have in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one.